But Pete is at the top.
But Pete's been #1 for 6 years in a row.
Do you think he has the motivation, the mindset, the skills to do this? To lead a revolution and a renaissance in tennis?
I guess not.
Yeah.
You know, I certainly haven't seen it.
Also, I want you to look at this videotape before I leave this subject. Roll tape, here it is.
Oh, come on! That ball was not a clear mistake! You can't say that was a clear mistake. That's way too close over there.
We're going to make a request to turn this mic down. I mean, we can hear ourselves, like, the feet move. It's unbelievably loud in there. I don't know whose mic it is, but it's unbelievably loud.
That ball is this way over the net. Yeah? So this one's all right now. It's this way over the net. Perfect case. And you're not going to open it. Maybe she made a mistake. That person there should be thrown out of the stadium, okay? He's the best person I could want. He's just thrown out of the stadium right now. I asked him nice, and he goes ahead and right does it just to get me irritated. I mean, that's just not right. I mean, you keep asking him, he shouldn't be allowed to stay here. Right while I'm asking him, he's changing. I mean, just to make it even worse.
Yeah, I've seen worse, much worse.
I was going to say, thank you for showing me the
that was reasonably nice.
Yeah.
We couldn't get, it cost too much to get the other stuff.
My only dream, Charlie, is that they put microphones on football fields, hockey rinks, and baseball stadiums when those umpires yell each, because I think it's hypocritical, to be honest. What do they want us to wear long pants too?
Yeah.
And act like a bunch of stiffs out there and say yes to the umpire? I mean, come on, people love that. Why don't they outlaw managers kicking dirt at the umpires in baseball, and the amount of stuff that they say on a football field? It'd be shocking. They wouldn't be able to put that on air.
Two questions. One, did you ever win any of those arguments?
I'd say about 4% of them.
4%.
I don't want to say none.
Where they would say, "You're right, you're right, Mr. McEnroe. I'm sorry we made that call. Your eyes are much better than ours are."
Once or twice in 20 years. But I also and also I've been fined a lot of times. And my father would always appeal. For some reason, So one time, we decided, I was at this point where if you go over $7,500, you would be suspended for 3 weeks. And I was burnt. So I said, okay, I'm going out in the court. I needed about $600. So I went up to the guy and I said, "You blanky blank." And he was like, point, but I go, "That's going to be enough for like 1,000, right?" And he was like, "Yes, yes." And this is actually the semifinals. And I get a call about 3 in the morning from my father. And for the first time in like 37 appeals, we win an appeal from 3 months earlier. So I have to go out the next day and do it again.
The second point is that you very much feel that this has been exaggerated no matter what you've said, because in a sense it's rudeness rather than violence. It's rudeness rather than, and somehow you have been caricatured as this guy, who's doing something awful, and it's just manners.
It was like
right?
That's how I view it. I mean, in the mid-'80s, I remember they did a poll in the Miami Herald or something, the most hated people in the world. It was like, I was third behind, Charles Manson and Jack the Ripper. Hitler was fourth, So I was like, come on. I mean, I've never hit an umpire. I've never gotten in fights with players. A lot of it's like, I mean, it was me, but it's also like part of the entertainment and personality of it. I mean, I'm not suggesting that Sampras go out and yell at people.
But was that part of your motivation or not? Entertainment.
Yeah, absolutely.
You were doing it to entertain.
No, I was doing it because it became natural, and because I saw that it did bring, just like Jimmy Connors. I mean, he's like a role model, Nastasi, these guys. Yeah. You saw that it brought something to it, because people like to see you care.
Passion, intensity.
It's hard to relate to Borg now. When he goes out there, I say to Borg on the seat, I say, "You got to say something now, okay? You can't get away with this anymore. You can't miss, 27 straight balls.
If you won 4 Wimbledons, it's okay, but not now."
No, exactly. Well, he was doing it because he had the credibility and the credentials. Right. Now he's playing like a brick, basically, and he could do better, but he's got to show something, because, quite honestly, people can't relate to this at all. Now, that's an awful you think it's tough to get Sampras to do something. Now, this is like times that by 10.
He's still one of your favorite and one of your best friends in tennis.
A lot of respect for you. Never had a problem with him on or off the court. He's the only guy that actually, it's amazing, the only real rival that I had that I didn't have a problem with.
He left the game, why?
To this day, I don't know. I mean, it was one of the biggest downers in my career, without a question, because I felt I was getting better as a player. I know that he was in that ritual that we talked about, where he always did the same, this regimen that bored him.
Right.
Maybe hanging around a little too much with Vitas, having a little bit too much fun, you know, seeing the other side of it. But that could have waited. I mean, he was only 25 years old. And I think he got tired of it. And then I guess part of it was that he didn't feel he could deal with what I was giving to him. The left-handed, you know, that could take him out wide and be aggressive and beat him on a fast court. So he didn't feel his chances were good maybe to win the U.S. Open, which he never won.
And he wanted that very much.
You know, we shook hands in the '81 finals. He didn't stay for the ceremony. He picked up his bags, walked off the court, walked into a car, has never been back there since. He did not stay for the ceremony, did not stay for the press.
But he's your best friend. Have you ever talked to him about this?
I've talked to him about
he's a good friend.
Oh, absolutely.
I've never, what does he say? When you say, Bjorn, why did you just get in the car and leave? Why didn't you stay for the ceremony?
I happen to know in that particular instance there was a little bit more to it, because there were some death threats and, you know, things like this, some unpleasantries that we'd prefer not to talk about as athletes. But that was part of it. But it was part of it like he snapped. He just bagged. I think he had bagged before. He was up. It was a set all. He was up 4-2 in the third set. I played one great game where I hit a couple topspin loss.
He was up 4-2 in the third set, and you had split, or was
split the first two sets.
So it's 1-1 and 4-2. He's up.
Yeah, so he's up.
He could have a 2-0 lead.
And I broke him, and so it was 4-3 on serve. He went in like the, you know, it looked like he pulled Ivanisevic.
I lost it or what? No, really?
Yeah, I do.
You think he tanked it?
I'm not going to say he tanked it.
He lost it.
He lost his edge. He lost his edge totally. He was 6'4".
By then he said, I'm out of here. This is tennis for me.
That's it. We went down to Australia 2 months later. Me and him and Vitas were having a beer before a press conference for this exhibition type event we were playing. He says, guys, I'm quitting. And we were like, what? You know, we didn't even take him seriously at first. We were like, what are you talking? Quitting what? This exhibition? You know,
sure.
Okay, you know, let's get out of here. And then we thought he goes, no, I'm quitting. You know, I'm not playing anymore. And we just looked at each other. We were dumbfounded. And then he'd go down to the press conference, and they go, Mr. Bork, how do you feel about next year? And he go, I'm very excited about playing next year and playing the majors. And then they'd go, John, what do you think about, because one of the things that had gone on, he had assigned this letter, you know, he didn't want to, this is another thing, by the way, the ATP did. In September of the year before, you have to make your schedule for the whole following year. Well, Bjorn didn't want to do that. He was burnt out. Give the guy some time. He's won 6 Frenches and 5 Wimbledons. Let him have a couple months to take a break. And people have done that in all sports. They don't dump on Michael Jordan for playing baseball for a year and a half. Yet they said, if you don't sign this thing, you have to play qualifying the whole next year. And that's what they stood by. How can you do that to one of the greatest players of all? You got to put him up there with Sampras and Laver.
It's like giving Michael Jordan some slack if he wanted it.
Exactly, and we needed to do that. We didn't give that to him, so that pushed him farther away. And I bet you there would have been a time where he would have wanted to come back sooner, but he wasn't given that opportunity.
And then his life went into a tailspin.
Right, and the same thing happened with Vilas. Vilas, at one point in '84, Connors pulled out like an hour before an event. They were screwed, basically, and they called Vilas up, who was number 3 or 4 player in the world at the time. And they said, we desperately need your help. He agreed to do it. Well, everyone knew that tennis people were getting guarantees. It just wasn't like illegal at that point, even though it was totally accepted and people knew about it.